Hey guys, welcome to probably one of the most special road tests or track tests I'm ever going to get the chance to do. Today, I'm going to get to ride the Ducati Superleggera V4. Now, this bike is an absolute halo bike for Ducati, and it is ridiculously rare that they let press ride these things. I remember that when they bought the last Superleggera out, I think like 2 guys or 3 guys got to ride it, something like that. So yeah, we're at Laguna Seca. There's a bike firing up in the background. We're going to get 10 laps on that thing today. And believe it or not, our warm-up bike is going to be a Panigale V4R. So that shows how like full-on today's going to be. Yeah, so back to the bike. Carbon fiber, everything. Most powerful engine that they've ever had for a production motorcycle. This is Ducati's because we can bike, really. It's pretty much illegal in most racing series, but who cares? It's just a show of what Ducati really is capable of. And thank God they've done it. I mean, just hanging around in the pit so far, wow, like bike porn, absolute bike porn. But there is a lot to talk about, so let's get into the tech stuff, and we'll see you guys in a tick. Limited to 500 examples worldwide, the Superleggera V4 is the finest superbike Ducati is capable of making for sale to the public. Worth a staggering $100,000, the Superleggera comes to the game with a claimed 224 horsepower from its 998cc V4 in a package weighing a claimed 350 pounds dry. Once you fit the racing exhaust that comes with the bike at purchase, power gets bumped up to 234 horsepower and weight drops to 334 pounds. Pretty crazy, hey? That makes it instantly the most powerful production motorcycle Ducati has ever created. But as impressive as that fact is, what's more interesting is the advancements made in carbon fiber and Ducati's ability to manufacture different levels of flex into the various components. Typical thinking would have the Superleggera's carbon fiber front frame as the stiffest of all the 3 Panigale V4s on sale, but you'd be wrong. It's actually the reverse. The V4R, which essentially exists as Ducati's homologation machine to go World Superbike racing, isn't as stiff as the road-going V4S, and the Superleggera is softer still. On the carbon fiber frame, Ducati saw a reduction of 27% in braking stiffness and 10% in torsional stiffness when compared to the V4R. The combination of torsional and braking stiffness brought a reduction in lateral stiffness by 6%. The idea being the less stiff the frame without encountering the problem of chattering, the better the feeling to the rider, who will have more confidence going over bumps, more tyre contact patch on the ground, and a better feeling and grip at maximum lean. A quick glance through the reductions makes for pretty impressive viewing. Compared to a standard Panigale V4, the carbon front frame is 2.6 pounds lighter, the carbon swing arm is 2 pounds less, 2.6 pounds has gone from the carbon subframe, and 7.5 pounds has been taken from the wheels. Modelled on the Desmos Adichie GP16 of Andrea Dovizioso and Andrea Iannone when aerodynamic regulations were not as tight as they are now in MotoGP, the Superleggera uses a biplane design that forces 110 pounds of vertical load onto the chassis at 167 miles an hour, a figure that improves to 134 pounds once you reach 180 miles an hour. The downforce provided by the wings gives several advantages over a non-winged machine, including better braking stability, cornering stability, and corner exit stability. But the one big one is under hard acceleration when you're trying to impart 234 horsepower to the tarmac in the smoothest and fastest fashion possible. More mechanical force on the chassis removes the need for increased electronic intervention in the form of the Ducati wheelie control system. The wings help by forcing the front onto the tarmac, which allows you to run a lower level of DWC intervention. And if you're adept at using the rear brake under acceleration, you'll almost need no DWC at all. Almost. Unlike the V4S, the Superleggera runs conventionally adjusted pressurized Öhlins forks and a TTX36 shock with a titanium spring, the overall suspension package saving another 1.3 pounds. The brakes are some of the most impressive parts of the Superleggera. Running Brembo's Stylema R calipers match to their race-spec MCS radial master cylinder with a remote adjuster on the left handlebar, the feel of the lever and overall braking power is nothing short of superb. Every one of the rider aids for the V4R, traction, wheelie, launch and slide control, quick shift, engine brake control, power launch and ABS, has been slightly tweaked to match the new chassis and increased horsepower of the Superleggera. And in the race mode you get the same dash as Andrea Dovizioso's called the Race GP Dash. This is full MotoGP style with no rev counter, just a flashing light for when you need to shift, a massive gear position indicator, lap timer, lap number, and a display for traction control, wheelie control, slide control, and engine brake control. It's uber cool, until you realise how slow you're riding.
Need fuel or? Can't believe how warm my bike is at V4R. Man, I am rusty.
Fuel going in them, so it should be right. Would you like to go right back out now? It's ready for you.
That one?
Yep. And
okay.
we've got,
Alright, let's do this. Coming out of the pits, how much lighter it is. And it just turns around. Be gentle with the speed. Oh my god, it's so close. It doesn't want to wheelie. The way this thing changes direction. Man, I'm not doing this thing at all any justice. Oh, get in there, come on. Oh, man, I love it. It's got so much feel. Even at every end of the bike. Until the front step is like touchdown. That's wild. Like, I mean, yeah, it's unreal. It's probably the best superbike I've ever ridden. Far out. It's so quick, but the power's not that surprising or intimidating. It's the way it steers. Like, you can have 230 horsepower on plenty of other bikes, but the way that thing gets into a corner and then the transition when you pick it up is just nuts. Like, and the brakes are so good on it too. Like, there's so much feel, and like, there's no delay between when you start pulling. It's the same pressure all the way through. Far out. I'm gonna have to have time to collect my thoughts. Right, so one session down on the V4R, and yes, I did an outfit change. I wanted to see how that two-piece Alpine Star suit would go, and it was really, really, really comfortable. But I'm going to get back in the one-piecer for the last session. Yeah, just, I mean, it's a bonkers bike, like, let's be honest, but it's the great thing about super bikes nowadays is almost like the faster they go, in some cases, the less intimidating they really are. The lack of weight is the biggest thing that you feel. I mean, the engine, yeah, it's powerful, it's 230 odd horsepower and whatever, but it could be 20 horsepower less and it's not going to make that much of a difference. The biggest thing that you notice is the weight. You feel it as you're coming out of pit lane. Like, as soon as you jump on it and you then just do a couple of zigzags in pit lane, you feel it there, let alone when you actually get out on track. You almost double take some of the corners because it steers so quick, it's ridiculous. Like, you have to recalibrate your brain into how sort of fast the thing will get into a corner. And look, I haven't ridden on track for 5 whole months, so I am rusty. So we definitely jumped into the fire a little bit on this one. Our warm-up bike was a V4R Panigale, and I got to tell you, like, I remember riding the V4R here last year, just going, this bike's incredible, amazing. Jump on this thing, and you see where the extra money goes. I mean, $100,000 US for one of these things. I don't think I'll ever be in the position to be able to afford one of those things. Maybe I will later on, but I'm probably too fat and slow to actually ride the thing. But an amazing, amazing bike. We ran in the B track mode on that setting, so we're gonna go and have some lunch now, and then we're going to move it into the A mode. The A mode gives it a much more direct hit in terms of torque, because that's your thing too. The throttle response in B mode is just, it's buttery smooth and lovely. It doesn't hit real hard. It's fast, no doubt, but it doesn't hit super hard. So we're going to crank it up into A mode for the last session, and we'll see how we go. But yeah, initial thing is just, it's an amazing bike. It really is an amazing bike. All right, so we're gonna have a look at some of the dash stuff on this, because dash is all different with this. You get different modes as well. All the electronics are completely, not revised, but they're upgraded, I guess, from a standard V4R. So I got AMA legend there, Mr. Jake Semke, Ducati ambassador, Ducati, person. So show us what's up with this. Let's have a look here.
Racing Evo, that's what you like to see on your dash.
Yeah.
Racing.
So this is the Dovi. This is a Dovi dash.
This is the Dovi dash. Yes,
right.
It is. So this is the dash design that he likes, that he races with. In this dash, one of the things that's very different from your standard dash is you can see these 3 different bars on the top, and these are sector bars. So as you're racing around a racetrack like Laguna Seca, it's cutting the track into 3 different sectors.
Yep.
And it's all done GPS. So it'll show you as you go around the racetrack, if you're on your fastest lap, those sectors will start lighting up, letting you know you've got a good lap going, so you want to continue that. So those numbers would be very small on the inside right side of the dash. Very hard to see at speeds, especially when you're on the racetrack. This dash gives you the ability to see those numbers and make adjustments on the fly without having to really stare at the dash to go, oh man, was that the traction control or the wheelie control? They're very defined and very easy to see. They're also color coded into different colors. We've got orange, yellow, green, and blue. And that also is another way for the rider to be able to understand what's going on there. Not only that, but you will see as you're riding on the racetrack, your lap time will also print out on the dash as you come across start-finish line, which is it's a great feature. It's something it's a lot more similar to a race dash that you would see on a World Superbike, a MotoGP bike, in different areas. So it's a very cool option that you have in this bike. It's the Dovi dash, the GP20 dash, as it's called. Like it gives you the option. And if you don't want to see all this, and because one thing it doesn't show you is your RPMs, and that's been brought up, right? But Dovey doesn't use that when he's racing. He's not using the RPMs because they've already got the gearing set. You know, the engineers are going back and looking at that, and if he needs to maybe rev the bike out a little further in a certain area, they're going to tell him that. It still has the shift lights active on the very top of the dash, so you've got traction control on one side, shift light on the other. So it is telling you when you should shift. It's just not necessarily telling you a RPM in a certain spot.
Yeah.
But their data engineers tell them, you know, they look through all that stuff, and that's what they're looking at. They're looking at RPMs, mid-corner when they pick up the throttle, where the bike's at, so they can adjust transmission gear ratios and final gear ratios as well on a GP bike.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, if you don't prefer to see that and you'd rather see RPMs, you can just go back to the standard street dash, and that's another option as well.
Yep.
And it's just the same dash that you would see on the R, the S, or even the standard model.
All right, cool.
So as far as the electronics on this bike, it is a little bit, it started off as the base V4R package, which is the Evo 2 electronics. It's the second generation of V4 electronics for Ducati. But it has been refined specifically for this bike to deal with the lightness of the bike, the different weight. It's just a little bit more refined than what the R had. So it is a little bit different feeling, and you can feel it on the track as you can speak to, you know.
Yeah. That was awesome. It's definitely better second time around. The throttle connection's super nice. Now that it's in race A mode, it's a much more direct feel. Doesn't feel quite as held back in the electronics. The suspension and everything, and that fork is probably the best production fork I think I've ever ridden. Just unreal. But yeah, that was awesome. That was an amazing experience.
Oh, well, that's what 100 grand buys you. I got to say, I'm just so blown away by the experience of riding that thing. And I also got to be honest and say that, you know, I only had 10 laps on it. So, yeah, got a fair idea of how it works, but didn't get the chance to really delve into proper testing in terms of all the different modes and all that kind of stuff. It's really an experience, sort of a ride for me on this one. And, you know, far out, just what an experience. I mean, where do you start? Like the main thing for me, the biggest thing for me is the chassis and how quickly the thing steers. The lack of weight is noticeable the second that you sit on the thing and as you start rolling out of pit lane. You can, compared to a V4R, you can feel that just rolling in and out of the pits, you can feel it. And then when you first hit the track at speed, it's eye-opening how quickly the thing gets to the apex of the corner. The boys going past there again, Jake Semke and the lads. So yeah, how quickly the thing will just
penetrate its way to the apex of the corner. It's just amazing. It's such an eye-opening experience. I've always been a big proponent of less weight. You know, give me a bike with less weight over more horsepower any day. Especially at my riding level, you know, I probably am not good enough to be able to, you know, exploit what that motor can really do. And especially around somewhere like Laguna Seca, which is pretty tight and twisty, you're not going to stretch the motor that much. What you need is lightness and agility, and that thing just is a whole nother benchmark. It really does make a V4S feel pretty lethargic, I've got to say, and I never thought I'd ever say that. If you guys have seen the V4S video that we did a couple of months ago, you know, I was pretty impressed with that bike. The aerodynamics is one of the massive standout features of that bike. The fact that I can go a level less wheelie control and have more power and more speed and get less wheelie with the wings is really eye-opening. Coming up the hill, the bike it refused to do any violent wheelies. The V4R would wheelie and be a bit sort of bratty in that regard, but that Superleggera would just didn't take off. It would just hold a perfectly controlled wheelie, and that was on level 2. So you've got so much more adjustment available to you. But overall, you know, it was a very, very special experience, I'm going to say. Certainly the best production superbike I've ever ridden, and that's the feedback you get from that chassis, especially at full lean. The bike just talks to you. You know exactly where the front is, where the back is, where you are on the bike, what you're doing, and that change of direction, how less weight you have means you just go snap into a change of direction, and just awesome. So if you're one of the lucky guys, the lucky 500 guys and girls that have picked one of those things up, well done. You certainly won't be disappointed. But anyway, guys, I have to get out of here because I've got to get to the airport. But thanks again for watching. If you like this, give us a like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.